Now, for your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 359 of This Old Marketing for Thursday, January 19th, 2023. And with me, as always, my pal, my colleague, and really apparently the only guy in the U.S. who doesn't have classified documents in his house, Mr. Joe Polizzi.
Maybe I do.
How are you? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, maybe you do.
We haven't talked for a while. We had our special episode that did well. It seems we got some good feedback from some of our friends.
Blossom. Yeah,
they like to know our struggles apparently with our business model.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I was taking a little holiday with the family and went to all things Disney World. And it was fantastic. We did all 4 parks, and I have a list of
Sounds like a nightmare to me, but I know you enjoy that.
Oh my God, I have. You know what? I was talking to Pam, my wife, and we were like, "What are we really? What's the thing that we do the best?" And I think the thing that her and I do the best is we go into some kind of a park or theme park or event area, and we pick it apart and we say, "Here's what everybody's doing wrong." And I would, if somebody would pay me to just do that, I'd be happy to go into Universal, and I'd be like, for a little thing like, we were walking up to a restroom area at Disney, and it had the male and female images for restrooms way at the top, right? The male was on the left, and the female was on the right. But the female restroom was on the left, and the male was on the right, so they switched it. So you're looking at it from the top, but then when you go to it, you have to actually go the other direction. And I'm like, that's an easy thing to pick out that nobody's seeing. Like nobody in the park, this beautiful Disney experience that they have, that they could, just a small thing, and we noticed that. That's what we're here for.
But here's an interesting thing. I would challenge you to make a list of those things because you don't know. Someone may have made a very purposeful decision for that, and given that it's Disney, I would almost bet that they did. That there was the decision maybe.
So they want people. They want people
wrong.
To go into, and I saw it happen. I saw it happen where somebody went into the wrong restroom, and that would just happen in a 5-minute period. So you're saying that somebody made a purposeful decision, so they went into the wrong restroom area. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's obviously not why they would make the purposeful decision. That's why it would be a wrong decision, but that's not why they made the purposeful decision. There may have been some design or some, I don't know how to rationalize it, but what I wouldn't assume, this would be the interesting thing actually in your list as you start putting these things together, because I go through this all the time when I look at my clients and their content and the decisions that they've made about content that they've put out into the world, and the design of their website and the design of their marketing and the decisions they make about their marketing. I have found it not as interesting to make the assumption that no one made a decision or that it was by default or that it was an accident. And rather, it is interesting for me to ask the question, why did you make this decision? Because somebody did.
Yes.
So somebody made the decision to put the signs where they were. And I would assume that they were conscious of the fact that it was the opposite way and made the decision anyway. And the decision behind that is more interesting to me than they screwed up, basically, that nobody saw it. So
it's interesting. I actually know somebody that works at Disney, not in that area.
Okay. Yeah.
I took a picture of it. I'm going to send it over and just say, do you know about this?
And ask. Right. Yeah.
And actually, you know what?
And ask why this.
The other thing.
And instead of saying, why did somebody screw up, ask them, why was this decision made?
True. I will go ahead and do that. I will do the work that you want done.
I would be interested in the follow-up for that. I would be very interested.
I will take that to the next level. Actually, I was surprised with especially with Disney being so inclusive that they don't have as many gender neutral or all gender restroom areas that I would have.
Well, that's going to be true. That's Florida. Full stop.
That's Florida, but Disney World is not Florida. Yeah. Disney World is not. Disney World is its own city, has its own police force.
I know.
That, of course, Florida's trying to change.
And its own fire department,
And the whole thing is, anyways, we had a magical time, as they say.
That's lovely.
And I put a list. You saw that on Facebook. I put a list of my top 10 rides and attractions. And
I did see that.
Top 2. Oh man, you would love. I know you're not a big rides guy, but the Guardians of the Galaxy experience they have at Epcot, Cosmic Rewind, is fantastic. And then Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance, where you can go on the one in LA or you can do the one at Disney World, is just takes your breath away. How they do that.
I have wanted to do that. I will admit to wanting to go to Disneyland here
and just go to the Star Wars area
and see the Star Wars thing. Yeah, I wanted to see the Star Wars thing because that seems.
What's
really
amazing
cool.
is that once you get into that area, you cannot see outside into the other areas of the park.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
so you
right.
feel like you are there and in it, and especially in that ride. Like once you're in that ride, it would be fun.
I mean, but speaking of design, that's what I've heard. It's that, what I remember hearing and remember experiencing at Disney is that's true for everything. Like when you're in Tomorrowland, you can't see any other land, right? When you're in any other part of the park, they've designed it in a way where you can't actually see the neighboring. That
is completely true. You are immersed in whatever the theme is of that area. And
I happen to know that you don't know all the doors to the underground city, as I've spoken about on this show before, because I have actually been arrested by the Disney police for other things way back in the day. I've told that story before here, haven't I?
A long, long time ago.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring that up for a special episode. All the ways
maybe so.
Robert's been arrested. Well, that'd be a double episode.
That would be a double episode. It would not be for the faint of heart.
Just before we get off on this, topic that has nothing to do with marketing, we did go to Kennedy Space Center as well, and I have to say,
fantastic! Now that is an experience.
I got to tell you, I was expecting sort of a visitor center because it is at the visitor center. I had very low expectations going into this. Oh my goodness. I don't know what kind of money they're getting from Boeing and Lockheed Martin, but this thing is first rate all the way. And they had a whole makeover in 2020. It's almost like you're going into a brand new NASA theme park. They've got rides, they've got attractions, they do everything. It's got a little Disney-esque touch to it. I mean, I was totally impressed. We spent 5 or 6 hours there. You could easily spend days if you were really into it. To go through it.
Wow. That sounds like a fun day for me. Do they have like a flight simulator where you can go and sit?
Yep. They had the flight simulator. Yeah. They had we went to the Apollo 8 attraction. That was the first time that we actually went to the moon. And they went through, you basically sat on a stage in front of the real equipment that they used, and they simulated from 3 minutes down. And you basically experienced it, and the walls were shaking as it took off, and you could see they had a window screen where you could see the smoke, and the windows are shaking, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is pretty impressive stuff.
That's awesome.
I totally recommend that one as well. And then we did make a quick stop at Universal Islands of Adventure to go specifically on 2 coasters, Jurassic Park's Velocicoaster. And we did the new Hagrid roller coaster ride. Both top-notch. Velocicoaster, top 5 coaster for sure. And actually, Hagrid's pretty close too. So you coaster enthusiasts.
The fact that you call them coasters.
Roller coasters,
coasters. Yeah, I know. Yes, I'm aware of the derivation.
So yes. Anyways, totally worth it to go. We have our oldest is a roller coaster aficionado. Like knows who makes it, when they made it, all the like. It's weird how you get around people like this and they walk into the ride and they'll say, okay, RMC made this coaster in 2019 and they took the designs from this coaster company. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Yep. That's
that
how
is
we
some
talk about marketing.
Nerdy stuff
they talk
right there.
about roller coaster stuff. So anyways, just before we start, congratulations on your Cowboys.
Thanks. Yeah, well, we'll see. They got a big game coming up, but they sent bye-bye Tom. They sent Tom into retirement, hopefully. And played very, very well. So we'll see what they can do against the 49ers. That's going to be a tough, tough game. So, yeah.
What's the theme for next week against the 49ers? Is it go for two? Is that the...
it may be. It may be. Yeah, now that the guy has the Ted Lasso yips, we'll see. For those of you who didn't see or don't know, the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys missed 4 extra points, which are gimmies. Typically in the NFL, extra points, and he missed 4 in a row,
which has never happened.
It's never happened. It's unprecedented.
At any point,
he just had the yips. He had the yips, and so I'm not remembering my Ted Lasso because we're not supposed to say the Y word, but yeah, it's we'll see. They did sign another kicker, so we'll see if they actually use him or not, or if that was just a ploy to get the guy to get his what together.
I don't know. I just felt so bad. I couldn't watch the 4th one. And then I definitely didn't watch the 5th one. When the 5th one, he made.
He made it. Yeah,
but I was already done by that point. I just couldn't take it anymore. I felt bad for his family, his ancestors, the people he went to college with, the whole thing. I just felt horrible about the whole situation. So,
yeah.
Anywho, should we...
anyway, we got a show.
Start?
Yeah,
yes.
we have a show. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. It was a big week while you were away, so lots of news to chitter-chatter about. First, we'll open up with AI because here comes the investment, but also here come the lawsuits. Tons of artificial intelligence and content and lawsuits and investment going on. We'll talk a little bit about what Microsoft, GitHub, Getty Images, and all of those things have in common. Then we'll talk a little bit about JPMorgan Chase and how this content marketing site that they bought, they just had to shut it down for the oddest of reasons. One that Joe, I'm certainly sure, will have an opinion on because it regards email. And in our Musky Scent segment, we'll first of all ask everybody what they think about the Musky Scent segment and whether we should continue to smell it up and do that. But we'll talk certainly about how Twitter has had a yard sale and selling off that old mattress as well as that statue that your significant other might want. And Parler, related to this, is gone from mostly dead to all dead. Maybe it's starting to get to time to rummage through their pockets for loose change. And we'll see if Elon's got the time to ask Domino's if they take checks because the first debt payment on his acquisition is now due. Then we'll finish off, if we've got time, with Don't Call It Content Marketing, the desperate plea for a debate that has we thought was settled about 10 years ago, but we'll see if it's going to come back or not.
Oh, my God, I can't wait. I want to talk about that one. Please, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, okay. Then we'll get to rants and raves. And I will rant a little bit about this whole idea of Silicon Valley being fascinated with Elon's ability to bring Twitter down to bare bones and why I think that might be the most ridiculous idea of all time. And Joe will talk a little bit about differentiation. He'll differentiate the show by talking about differentiation, and it will get real meta real fast in here. Okay.
Yes.
So there we go. So it's a chock-a-block show. I mean, it's just fun. We got some fun stuff to talk about.
Yay. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can actually get my actual browser to work here. So let's talk about the first thing, which is AI. AI having a little bit of a moment.
A little. No, what's odd before you start is this has been going on obviously for a long, long time. I was talking to somebody recently. I said, this is 3 years of Paul Reitzer's conference, MACON, Marketing AI Institute, the whole, marketing AI has been around for a long, long time. But this one thing seems to have opened up to everyone's like, oh my God, this is new. ChatGPT, who knew that all this was going on?
That's right.
Anyways,
it's been going on for quite a while. DALL-E 2 has been going on. So it's DALL-E 2, right? There was a DALL-E 1 that nobody paid a lot of attention to. And, there was a ChatGPT 1 and a ChatGPT 2 as well. So all of this are evolutions of things that have been happening for a while. But now it seems like Silicon Valley has opened up their eyes. The world has opened up their eyes. And there are a number of developments that have happened over the last week, namely both investment and lawsuits. So we'll link to a few articles here in the show notes, including one which comes to us courtesy of The Verge, which talks about a lawsuit that could rewrite the rules of AI copyright. Microsoft and GitHub especially and OpenAI are being sued for allegedly violating copyright law by reproducing open source code using AI. But the suit would have huge impact on the wider world of artificial intelligence. That article opens up by saying Microsoft and its subsidiary GitHub and the business partner OpenAI have been targeted in a proposed class action lawsuit alleging that the company's creation of AI-powered coding assistant, GitHub Copilot, relies on software piracy on an unprecedented scale. The case is only in its earliest stages, but could have a huge effect on the broader world of AI, where companies are making fortunes training software on copyright-protected data. We'll talk a little bit about that. But then the other thing that's happening is that Getty Image is actually suing Stable Diffusion. This story also in The Verge, and it says that Getty Images claims that Stability AI unlawfully scraped millions of images from its site, and it's a significant escalation in the development of legal battle between generative AI firms and content creators. It says Getty Images is suing Stability AI, creators of the popular AI art tool Stable Diffusion, over alleged copyright violations. The stock photo company says that it believes that Stability AI unlawfully copied and processed millions of images protected by copyright to train its software, and that Getty Images has commenced legal proceedings in the High Court of Justice in London. I love that the London courts are always called the High Court Justice in London, and ours are like, the courthouse. Courthouse down on the corner.
District Court.
Yeah. And then last but not least, overriding all of this, of course, or I guess the meta layer on top of this, is that Microsoft is considering a $10 billion bet on ChatGPT and OpenAI in particular, and looking at valuing the new firm at $29 billion, which would be a huge investment into this company. And they would do all sorts of song, singing, dancing, marching, twisting, turning to make OpenAI, the nonprofit organization, remain a nonprofit, but have the ability, of course, to do big money-making, rich Silicon Valley-making things. So, with all of that, Mr. Polizzi, what do you think about these images, lawsuits, AI, and investment?
Oh man, where we could do a whole episode on where we think this is. Actually, I would love to have your take on where you think this is all going.
I definitely have a take on the lawsuits. For sure,
I want to hear your take on that. Let me go talk about the Microsoft thing, because first of all, very smart move by Microsoft, which seems to be trying to do what I can only think would be like a Duke Brothers move from Trading Places, where they're trying to corner the market.
Nice,
right?
Yeah, I love it.
That's what because then this goes back years ago when I first learned about OpenAI. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This, Elon Musk is one of the founders. We want this to be something that is a nonprofit initiative so that no big bad corporate entity or evil empire can take advantage of this thing more than any other and turn the world around. Yeah. Well, it looks like that's gone the other way now, because OpenAI is not nonprofit anymore, and you have Microsoft investing, which is, did you read the conditions of this $10 billion bet?
I did.
I've never seen it. I don't know about you. I've never seen anything like this, where something about 90 billion, the first $90 billion in profit, which is hard to believe that that's even a thing. Yeah. But then Microsoft would get 75% of that, or whatever. Right. That's the cap. And once that's hit, then OpenAI gets all their profit back. There's some really crazy, profit percentages and stakes that are being made, but it looks like what Microsoft is doing is they're protecting themselves to saying whatever's going to happen with this OpenAI tool or in AI in general, they're going to have a big say in anything, and they're going to be able to integrate this into all their products. It almost looks like OpenAI becomes a subsidiary in a lot of cases of Microsoft. Isn't that sort of the way it's set up?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we've seen this playbook before. I actually wrote a little bit about this last week, which is it reminds me very much of the 2004 to 2006 timeframe when we were all talking about this newfangled technology called web services. Web services was going to change the way that the web worked, right? Which was basically apps talking with one another in the background so that you could embed applications into websites, stuff we all take for granted today. Like that, in 2004, having a website that did a lot of different things was like weird and, it was like almost spooky magic. But there was this web services idea that was being proposed, which would basically connect applications across the web. So you could do things like software as a service, or you could do things like where you open up Microsoft Word and then it pulls stuff from the web into Microsoft Word. So that they branded it. Microsoft did an incredibly smart thing back then, and they called it .NET. They had this whole .NET service that they launched and productized web services and built. There were startups built on it. There were media companies built on it. There were all kinds of things built on it. Now, .NET as a protocol didn't really, but the interesting thing was there were so many open source solutions available that there was this sort of religious war at one point about, well, are you Microsoft based? Are you Java based? Are you, what do you do with all of these things? And it just reminds me so much of this, where Microsoft is looking to take AI, brand it, productize it, put it into their products. Very smart move. Sure. And at the same time, what you're getting is people from the other side of things, the open source side of things, or the more open parts of things, going, help! This is not good. This is going to stifle all kinds of innovation in this space and give Microsoft an unfair advantage. But I think it's really smart on Microsoft's part to do this and take advantage of the hype that's going on right now with all of this. We'll see if they're successful with it, but there are so many great use cases here. It does not surprise me in the least.
It seems like a no-lose scenario for them. It really does.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
First of all,
yeah.
$29 billion is a ton of money, but not for Microsoft.
That's right.
That's couch cushion money,
and not for this
them.
Space, right? It's for this space. I mean, this coming year will be this will be the venture world for the next 12 months. It will be everything AI. Every new startup will have some sort of AI.
It's funny. 2 years ago it was crypto, right? Everything was it got to have blockchain. Exactly. Right now, or everything is what's your AI play, or it's an AI has to be an AI business.
That's right.
And I'm under the assumption that just like every company is a technology company today, every company in the future will integrate some form of AI into their processes.
Yeah. Well, this is where I have my big, wonderful question, which I think is the most fascinating question in all of this as it pertains to the investment and the new innovation side of things. And I actually asked Paul Reitzer this on we had a marketing profs just at the end of the year, sort of a year-end review plus a predictions kind of show. And I asked him what his thinking was on this. And I don't think anybody has a really good answer. Not that Paul had necessarily a bad answer for this, because I certainly don't have a good answer on this. But my question is, in the future, do you look to a Microsoft to provide an AI for your business or your home computer or whatever that is a sort of background service, like an operating system? In other words, do you buy one that sort of is the AI that drives, your music selection plus your content creation, plus your analytics and numbers, plus your Excel spreadsheets, plus your finances? Is there sort of one AI engine that acts like an operating system, or is it individual AIs that are very point solution based, that are in each? Like you have an AI engine in your GarageBand, you have an AI engine in your email newsletter system, you have an AI engine in your content creation engine, and they're different, made by different people. And I can make an argument for both right now, but I just think that's going to be the fascinating question.
I think it's a great question, and right now with limited information, I would say it definitely would be both. Because the more that I get into reading about what the possibilities are with this, I just come back to the movie Her. That, that's kind of a weird ending to that movie for those people that see it. But basically the idea is it's an AI operating system that you buy that becomes like your assistant in everything you do. And that's pretty close to being a thing. Not the So that's now, will Microsoft be able to offer that as an operating system? Yes, I think they will. And I think that's going to come, I don't know, the next 2-3 years in that form, if not already.
Yeah, it's already starting, right? When you open up, it's fascinating now. You open up Word now, PowerPoint, and there's an AI engine running in the background that's giving you alternative designs for slides. It's a fascinating thing. By the way, it doesn't work very well because it slows everything down. Like it slows PowerPoint down a lot. I spend a lot of time in PowerPoint, but so I've turned it off. Because it just slows everything down so much. But the alternative designs and layouts that it suggests are pretty darn good.
Well, the process, and that's one of the things that OpenAI was talking about, why they need investment, is because of the processing power. And I guess with every time somebody plugs something into ChatGPT, it costs them a couple pennies.
Right.
And I mean, I can't even imagine the costs of processing power, which, by the way, if you're looking at investments, I would imagine chip companies and memory companies are probably where to put your money. But this is not a financial investment show.
That's right.
So let's go to the lawsuits. What's your take on? I guess my quick take is we're just seeing the start of this. This is going to go on for years. You are seeing a bunch of different companies trying to get a piece of this, and most of those companies are because they feel their business models are being disrupted, a la Getty, who's freaking out right now because they're saying, okay, our business model is going the way of the dodo, and we want to continue to be a multi-billion-dollar company. So how do we figure this thing out with what's going on? And the first thing to do is throw out a lawsuit.
Yeah. My take on this is twofold, and they are different. So the Microsoft GitHub one is interesting to me because it's basically complaining about a behavior that programmers have been doing for the last 20 years.
Borrowing code.
Which is copying and pasting each other's code. There is a running joke among programmers who say your biggest and highest skill as a programmer is being able to Google. Right. In other words, you're trying to Google for someone else who's already done the thing you're trying to do, and you're copying and pasting code. That's a practice that is as old as coding itself, because code is code, right? Code works or it doesn't work, and there is an accuracy level there. So what does that mean ultimately? I think they lose this. I don't think there's any basis for a lawsuit here, because what the learning model is learning what works. And if it works, it continues to be part of the learning model. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't. So it's an accuracy play. So I don't think there's really any way you can argue that it is in copyright violation of code through things that are being displayed. Now, I may be wrong. I'm no lawyer here, but that to me is my gut reaction when I hear this, is that the class action suit here is not going to go very far, because it's going to be really hard to show that this isn't already happening everywhere. The Getty Images one, however, is very different, because that's art. That's about individualism, and it's about creation. And the whole point of any image is that it is unique and distinct and provides level of creative expression. And The difference there, though, I agree with you. I think this is Getty. This is not Getty. To me, this is not Getty freaking out. This is Getty making a very strategic business move to say, we're going to be in this business. Like Shutterstock is already planning on being in this business. Getty is very much going to be in this business of being able to generate images out of DALL-E 2. So anybody who thinks Getty is sticking up for the content creator here, you just get a life, because Getty does not care about you.
So you're saying they're
Getty
not
does
protecting the designers here.
They're not trying to protect photographers or artists or anybody. What they're trying to say is basically, if anybody's going to be in this business, it should be us. And so how dare you use our library, where we already exploit the creators and photographers and designers. So don't mess in our corner, because we're going to get into this business. And what they're looking for here is a judgment that says that they can actually do this and maintain both businesses, so that they can say, hey, listen, you want a human generated image? You got one here. You want an AI generated image? You got one here. So this is a win-win for them, whether they win or lose, but it's basically them getting into this business. So to me, this is absolutely a business strategy by Getty and Shutterstock and every other stock art site out there. They are not trying to stick up for the creators here. Although the PR will be exactly that, but it's not about the creator.
Are you saying that Getty's out there saying something like, hey, if you're going to exploit designers and photographers, it better be us?
Yeah.
Like, is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's exactly what they're saying. They're saying, hey, listen, you're trying to get out there. No, we are the ones that are going to exploit the creators and the designers and the artists. Come on. We've been doing this for years.
Just for legal purposes, Robert Rose means nothing personal against the good folks at Getty Images here. He's just stating an opinion, and his opinion is not that of everyone on this show, This Old Marketing.
Hey, listen, Listen, I'm going to go to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, George Santos, on this, and basically, and say lying is okay. It's just an opinion. Yeah, no, I do believe it's a smart business strategy for them, but don't fool yourself that this is Getty Images caring about you if you're a creator or a photographer.
I think there's so many things that we could go into on this one, but the interesting thing to me is over the past couple weeks is the amount. It's obvious people are looking for business models around ChatGPT, and there probably are many. But my concern is the amount of content that is being created from this machine that is not right, that is just not correct information. That, of course, when it comes out of ChatGPT, it's like it's fact. We've talked about this for the last few episodes. And then once it gets out and you have more and more and more and more of this, then what becomes truth? We've been through this before with social media, right? And more and more of this happens. And, of course, that comes back to, boy, if you are a trusted brand or a trusted person, so maybe there's an opportunity here. Instead of people, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but instead of people being all scared that they're going to take over my jobs, maybe there is an opportunity here for people. I think there is. So
it's a danger. There are a few people out there talking about this, and I'm fascinated with the whole thing, which is we are so wrapped up right now in the whole AI content creation thing. We are not paying attention to the content consumption part of this, right? Where there are folks out there going, oh, AI, ChatGPT will replace search because now I can ask the AI a question and get a recipe for chicken soup and all of that, and that will be a really interesting thing to explore, because at its surface you think it makes search irrelevant, right? It starts to make search irrelevant. If I can just ask AI for the answer, why wouldn't I? But if it doesn't have the trust, if it doesn't develop the trust with accurate, good advice or accurate, good information, then what you're going to start to see is a halo effect start to affect search and Google, and you're going to start to see an alignment. And I think this is an opportunity, honestly, for marketers, for businesses, for media companies in general, to provide a differentiation through human human created accuracy, right? Trust, being able to establish trust with an audience. Now, instead of AI being the go-to, I go to the human because I know at least I'm getting a human-oriented response.
Well, that's the thing with search, right? So if let's say whatever you're searching for, you go to ChatGPT. I don't know the source. We have no idea where that comes from. So you either take it or you don't.
It's the zeitgeist, right? I mean, the source is the learning model. And so unless you know the learning model, and consumers are not going to give a crap about the learning model. They're just going to want to go, where are you getting your information? And the answer is going to be the internet for the most part.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If I go and I search for something on Google and I scroll down to it's just one big page now for on most devices, just so you know, there's no page 2 for Google anymore. You just keep scrolling and scrolling. But whatever you click on, then you make a decision on whether that's reputable. And you look at the design, and you look at the author, and you look at the brand, and then you say, okay, this sounds right. So let's take your chicken soup, for example. So it's like, great. So it comes from Betty Crocker. I don't know. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I know Betty Crocker brand. They're not going to say something that's not right. This looks good. It's got reviews. Right. I like this. I'm going to use this one. And then you get that on a ChatGPT. I don't know who. You can literally throw in, it needs a cup of paprika, and you're going to follow that because that's what ChatGPT
That's an underappreciated. I think that's an underappreciated externality here, which is brands will have the opportunity to become that good housekeeping seal of approval for information and truth. And I think there is such a huge opportunity here, and gives me so much hope for both the development of AI as well as the importance of human-created content.
So I guess the whole thing is there's a lot of people, especially writers, that are sweating this whole thing. But on the other side, yes, there are going to be usages for this that maybe parts of what you do as a writer or parts and jobs in a company don't happen anymore, or they go away. But there's all these new opportunities at the same time, because we have never had a more important time that we need to build trust.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Absolutely. And how do you do that?
100%. It's as the Chinese would say, it's a crisis, and all a crisis is a change riding the dangerous wind.
Yes, it's no more of a crisis than when the internet was created.
Of course. Yeah,
so
exactly. Exactly. All right, let's move on to our next story here, which is about content marketing. And JPMorgan shutting down a website that we actually talked about the acquisition of on this show. It has now shuttered a website it paid $175 million for, and accuses the founder of inventing millions of accounts. This story coming to us courtesy of CNBC. It opens up by saying, JPMorgan Chase on Thursday shut down the website for a college financial aid platform it bought for $175 million after alleging the company's founder created nearly 4 million fake customer accounts. JPMorgan said it learned of the truth about Frank, which the irony there is very funny to me. The truth about Frank, which is the site that they acquired, after sending out marketing emails to a batch of 400,000 customers. Sorry, this is just comedy to me. About 70% of those emails bounced back, the bank said in a lawsuit filed last month in federal court. So the article goes on to talk about the background here of them buying one of the fastest growing college financial planning platforms. It was a content marketing play as a media company used by more than, quote unquote, 5 million students at 6,000 institutions. And it also provided access to the startup's founder, Charlie Javis, who joined the New York-based bank as part of the acquisition. And they went back and did a bunch of stuff and apparently found out that most of the email addresses that they had in their system were not real. So, I mean, I totally have a take on this, but I'm sure you do as well, as someone who has acquired a company that had an email list. What do you think about this? I mean, does this say more about JPMorgan than it does actually about Frank?
That's exactly right. So obviously, Charlie Javis, who is the founder of Frank, was up to some no good here, inventing millions of fake accounts. So multiple people are getting fired here.
$175 million.
$175 million deal. So I've been through much, much smaller deals multiple times. And there is a ton of due diligence done. I mean, just when we sold Content Marketing Institute, we went through 6 months of serious due diligence on everything, on the numbers, on the email, on the business model.
Right.
That's basic due diligence. It's not like we were doing anything over and above.
It's an audit.
What?
Yeah, it's an audit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they actually paid $175 million or $10 for this thing without checking.
Or didn't send their first email until after the check had cleared. I mean, just something as simple as like, hey, maybe let's send a first test email and look at the report in MailChimp and see what's going on here.
It's
right?
kind of,
I mean, the fact
I read
that
this article,
400,000 emails bounced.
I don't believe this. I can't believe that this actually happened, because this is just multiple human beings not doing their job.
This is my favorite part of this whole thing. Can you just picture a moment that there's some poor manager sitting in his or her office, and they've sent the email, and they get the report, whatever system they're using, they get a report of bounce backs. Yeah, the bounce back report, and maybe they sent it to 1 million, as a test or something like that, and 400,000 of them bounce back, and this poor manager has to get up from his or her desk, probably have to print it out and walk it into their boss and go, we may have a problem. Just, oh my God, what a way to end your week, right? I mean, that it probably happened on a Friday before they're going out. Could you
imagine the person?
Dinner.
Yeah, the person that is the person responsible for the whole brand of Frank now.
Because it's a JPMorgan person for sure.
Oh yeah, they're coming in there, right? And they're all happy. I got this new gig. It's great.
It's going to be cool.
You have 4.25 million customers or whatever, and then you say, no, you really don't. You have 300,000.
Yeah. God. Oh, it is crazy.
I don't have anything to say other than the fact that
the cautionary tale is to pay attention, right? I mean, you got to, yes, acquisition of a media property makes total sense, but you got to do that part right too. That's the cautionary tale here. All right, let's move on to our next story here, which is our Musky Scent segment. All right, we'll do this quickly here, the Musky Scent segment. Thanks, by the way, again to Annie Schiffman for amazing theme song. We love it. Yeah. And just 3 quick stories here, and I only want to talk about one of them really, but the related stories are the Twitty. Maybe it is Twitty now.
That's the new that's the new company. He's going to say it's not Twitter anymore. It's Twitty.
They had a yard sale, apparently, this coming via a number of news outlets, but we'll cover the one from AP, Associated Press, which said Twitter auctions off the Blue Bird, the big statue that they had in their office, and then the pricey furniture, the coffee maker, basically whatever you wanted. They had a yard sale. A neon Twitter going for $35,000. Anybody? How about a used industrial kitchen mixer? Elon Musk wants to make a point, and it can be pretty blunt. That's an understatement. On the day he took over Twitter last fall, he walked into the San Francisco company's headquarters carrying a sink. And no, that was just a stupid dad joke. It wasn't even, anyway. After slashing the company's workforce, falling behind on rent and contract obligations, Twitter, under the mercurial billionaire, is now auctioning off memorabilia, fancy office furniture, and a professional kitchen equipment from its San Francisco offices. For what purposes, we don't know, but basically they walk through a number of the elements that sold and how much they sold for, which is a stunt more than anything else. This is not actually providing any real money here. I mean, even if they got a couple of $100,000 out of all this stuff, it's like that's a drop in the bucket. But the other story that we will cover as part of our Musky Scent segment, of course, is the idea that his debt payment is now due. This coming from finance at Yahoo. And the article talks a little bit about, the fact that his $300 million first interest payment on his debt that he used to buy the company is coming due pretty darn quickly here. Apparently, the company does have enough cash, but in other stories, which we won't link to necessarily because they're easy to find, it sounds like revenue is down almost 35% over the course of the last 6 months. So he's probably going to have to dig into his pockets for some of this to be able to pay this, and at least ongoing. Maybe he's got enough for the first payment, but certainly not for a whole bunch of others. So he's threatened everything from bankruptcy here to other things, and it's still very, very up in the air about what's going to happen here. And then finally, just a related story, which is from Parler, which has gone, as I said at the top of the show, mostly dead to all dead. Engadget is now reporting that the layoffs at Parler has really just gone down to about 20 people. Maybe 3/4 of their staff have been laid off, executives, workers, et cetera. This all coming on the heels of Ye not buying the company. And I think it's gone.
You think
so
Parler's done?
Any on this you want to comment on?
Parler's done. Stick a fork.
Oh yeah,
in it, done.
They're done. They're done. Yeah, they're done. They're done. Stick a fork in them. They are done.
It seems like
nobody's going to buy it. Now.
It just seems like that kind of a model where it's reliant only on advertising and sponsorship is a tough one these days, and we're seeing that with Twitter. Right? It's just they're getting what 40% of what they were before from a revenue standpoint. It's just tough to go on and on. I with the whole Twitter thing, couple things. Just these are all things that I'm hearing, so take it for what it's worth. I have been hearing that a number of creators are doing really well with Twitter because I think a lot of former creators on Twitter are doing what you did. They're sort of waiting and seeing. You're sort of pulling back and seeing what happens. And there's been an opportunity with some others that go all in, and they seem to be doing quite well off the bird. So take that for what it's worth.
Are they focused? I'd be interested, and I don't mean this if it comes across with any sort of attitude, but are they crypto people?
No.
Are they crypto creators?
They're the ones that I'm following, like a Justin Welsh or a Jay Klaus, are smack dab in the middle of the creator economy stuff that we're doing. They are content creators and they're teaching, and they're
because I know the crypto community really found a home in Twitter.
Sure.
Like I know that was a big deal, and I know that whole crypto community sort of continues to thrive. The NFT community, the thriving Web3 stuff, really found a home in Twitter and Twitter Spaces, especially when Clubhouse started to really poop the bed, as it were.
But it's really interesting to see that, we've always talked about can you leverage social media to drive email subscriptions? And the answer is yes. And I'm seeing it happen with Jay Klaus on Twitter. I'm seeing it happen with Justin Welsh on LinkedIn, driving significant amounts of subscribers to their proprietary email. And it's working really, really well, but you have to invest in that. And that's where you make the decision to say, I'm only going to do one or two platforms and focus there. And it's working well.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going into Twitter and I'm finding that the feed, just to check in, basically, one is to check the hashtag to see if there's any story ideas, which has, by the way, dried up fairly robustly. And my feed is nonsense. My feed is just it's decreased in value by, I don't know,
even because
5x.
But your feed is from who you're following,
right? That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. So I tend to be relatively choosy, not that choosy, but relatively choosy about who I follow. And so I only follow, I use Twitter as a marketing feed, right? So I don't, I never got into politics. I never got into any of that stuff. So I don't see all that sort of political stuff that is so prevalent in the news and what everybody talks about on Twitter. I just don't see it because I don't follow any of those people. Mine tended to be all about marketing, content marketing, media, some sports, but that's really it. But now it's lots and lots of, I get lots and lots of promoted tweets now, and I get lots and lots of politics and social awareness, social justice stuff. I see lots of, by the way, on both sides, left and right. So I see a lot of that now. Now, LinkedIn, on the other hand, has gone up in value for me like 5x. Yeah. Like the quality of my feed on LinkedIn, and there I'm about the same in terms of the way that I follow or connect with people. I'm relatively open in the way I connect with people. So but that feed, the quality of my LinkedIn feed has really improved. So it's that's why I felt like it's been fine. I have noticed zero business downside to not being on Twitter.
Yeah, it's interesting. I post like once every couple of days now, so I don't post enough or comment enough to do any kind of business either way. But for those that are, if you do the model, you post, one or two amazing things a day, maybe a Twitter thread a week, and you comment on 10 to 20 influencers in your area, and you do that for 6 months, you'll be very, very successful. But that's a big portion of time that you have to set aside. Yeah. That's why if you're going to do it, now I'm doing that on LinkedIn, and that seems to be really starting to pay off. Will, I think, pay off. I just wish it's funny because I started on LinkedIn, so whatever it was, 07, 08, and I really invested a lot.
I know, I miss it. I do miss it.
And I wish I would have continued a lot of that instead of starting and stopping so many times. But
same here. Same here. All right, we'll cover this because I know you want to really cover it, and we'll definitely, I have a take as well, and before we get to rants and raves. So our last story that we'll cover here is Don't Call It Content Marketing, the desperate plea for brand publishing. The latter part of that headline is my edition. This coming courtesy of toolkits.com. It looks like a new advisory consulting firm focused in on content and I guess brand and media. The article itself, which you got to sign up to actually see, so there's an irony there, but I'm not even going to get into that. But basically, the article opens up saying that a growing number of companies are attempting to distance their brand publishing efforts from content marketing in an effort to gain audience trust, attract higher quality talent, and hold on to dwindling budget. It's a trend that has accelerated in recent months as brand publishing continues to evolve quickly. Companies are increasingly making public proclamations about their editorial independence and their intent to produce legitimate journalism as opposed to more product-focused content marketing. The article goes on to talk about how a number of media companies are trying this new wonderful strategy, and product companies are doing the same by launching editorial brand publishing, in their words, ideas, and separating it out from the concept in a inexplicable way of content marketing. And so anyway, I have a take on this. All of it very snarky, but give me your thoughts.
First of all, the site, the toolkit site that this is from is fine. I've been registered as get their emails for a while. A lot of the articles are really, really good. It did seem like this article was from 2010 Ad Age, to be honest, when I first saw it, and I read through it. Now, this whole idea of, going back to brand journalism or brand publishing, first of all, I can make a case for that. If you are an agency and you're talking to a particular person, it may make sense for you to talk about brand publishing and not content marketing, depending on who your audience is, to try to sell those services. Now, if you are on the brand side, and
you're talking about a media.
I'm talking about.
Right?
I'm talking about if you're an agency and you offer content marketing services, you actually do magazines and newsletters for brands. It may make sense in your own marketing and positioning to position yourself as your expertise as brand publishing and not content marketing, depending on who you're talking to.
Sure, especially if you live in the 212 area.
Exactly. It really depends. So I have no problem with that. I've been going through this for 20 years now, when we had the Custom Publishing Council and then the Custom Content Council, and then we went into the Content Marketing Institute. There were all sorts of factions that people said that it should be called this, it should be called this. Now, we decided to go content marketing because what is it? It's marketing. At the end of the day, we have marketing objectives behind these things that we do, and that's why we thought it was important to call it content marketing, because let's just call it what it is. It's marketing. Now, if you're saying this article contends to say that if you are doing brand publishing for a brand, it's better to call it brand publishing than content marketing because you're some way safe in this recessionary environment and it's a better way to position yourself, that might be just this moment in time. As people are there's a recession. People are laying off other people. Some of that's coming out of marketing, and so for some reason they forget you because you're in brand publishing or in the publishing division. That's good luck for you. for this 6-month period. But at the end of the day, I don't care if you're doing a magazine, a newsletter, I don't care what you call it, you have to show results. And those results are, in essence, from your marketing efforts. What are your marketing? What is all that brand publishing getting you? You have to be reporting to some place in marketing. Now, if you're in a small company and reporting to the CEO, that's great. That's not who we're really talking about here. You know, you can keep going. You can publish your magazine forever and not show results if that's what the CEO wants. And you're fine. But if you report to an enterprise that demands results, at the end of the day, you're going to have to look at marketing metrics. So that's my take.
Yeah. So here, I'll only add this very quickly here, because for any listener who's listened to this show for a long time, this will remind you of an argument that I used to seemingly make weekly back in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, maybe even. That's when it's really kind of stopped. When we used to have these debates, right? When this was a weekly occurrence where there was somebody who was saying, this is this and this is that. We had a long-running sort of frenemy feud with HubSpot for a long time, trying to declassify content marketing and reclassify inbound. But here's the thing. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you call it brand publishing. I don't care if you don't call it content marketing. I don't care if you call it brand journalism. I don't care if you call it custom content. I don't care if you call it advertorial. I don't care if you call it whatever works for you. To your point, whatever works for you and your audience, great. Make it work. It's all just marketing at the end of the day. What I do care about is when you try and redefine content marketing as a part of that. That's what grinds my gears, right? So I don't care that the author in this particular case believes that brand publishing is the way to phrase this. Fantastic. Good for you. Go for it. But what I do care is that, and she actually writes this in another post where she says, well, here's what content marketing is. Content marketing is product marketing, is talking about product features and benefits. And it's like,
no,
nope,
that's not it.
That's not it, right? So that's where I have to stop and go, no. You don't get to redefine my thing in order to elevate yours. And so that's the only real challenge I have with this whole thing, is that what it shows is either they know and don't care and are just using that redefinition in order to elevate their own brand publishing idea, or they don't know and haven't done the work, haven't done the research. And the latter really
is probably the latter. You and I have run into most people.
I'm sure it's the latter.
Well, most people on the publishing side, especially the B2B publishing side, I have a lot of friends there that some of them make the effort to learn, some of them haven't. If they just hear and see content marketing as a term, they immediately think it's promotional.
Right.
And that's what this article says. And so you're right.
That's right. And it's mostly, by the way, I find, and again, I kind of made the comment that this is a 212 area code thing. I do find that this is mostly a Madison Avenue, New York media issue, where it is and this, by the way, these folks are New York media based. So it's so good luck, God bless, Godspeed for your business, for everything you're doing in brand publishing. I do admit, now that I have seen some of the content is really good on this site, but don't drink my milkshake, man.
I wonder if I probably should send a note. I'll send a note on that too, and just say, hey, that's your definition of content marketing isn't correct. You really should.
That's right.
You really should take a look at it. Anyways,
yeah. Go be you. You be you, but don't tell us how to be us. Okay. Very quickly here, before we get to rants and raves, if you want to check out all the wonderfulness of our show notes and everything that we do here, and as well as listen to the other 358 episodes, including the last episode that was tons of fun for us to talk about business models and stuff, go do that at thisoldmarketing.site, won't you? Go check it up. You can sign up for both of our newsletters if you're there and want to do that and get our email wonderfulness, speaking of email, and all of the wonderful things that we offer on you on a weekly basis, me on a fortnightly basis. So go do that. Also, obviously, hashtag us up. with show ideas, email us. You can leave us cool voicemails, by the way, at the website. We'd love those cool voicemails. Those are always fun. So let's get to rants and raves very quickly here and talk a little bit about. You want to go first? You want to go first with your little differentiation story?
Mine's really quick, and it actually has to do with what we were talking about before with ChatGPT and all this AI, and oh my God, the machines are taking over our content, and for whatever reason, I thought about yours and my friend Don Schultz, who amazingly is hard to. It's almost been 3 years since he passed away. And for those of you who don't know, Don Schultz, professor emeritus at Northwestern School of Journalism, Medill School of Journalism. He spoke at Content Marketing World. I believe it was 2013. He was one of my
amazing.
He was one of my mentors in getting into the whole content marketing industry. He took a lunch meeting with me in 2003 or 4 in Chicago that I had no right getting, and he was wonderful enough, and we stayed friends from after that moment. And I guess with all this that's going on and will continue to go on and continue to change, Don always said that the only way to truly differentiate yourself from the competition is how we communicate. And I believe that will always be the case. And I actually just put this on LinkedIn. There's this line in A Star Is Born where Jackson says this to Allie, and I'm going to read this quote. So Jack says, who's the guitar player from Star Is Born, says, "Look, talent comes everywhere, but having something to say and a way to say it so that people listen to it, that's a whole other bag. And unless you go out there and you do it, you'll never know. That's just the truth. And there's one reason we're supposed to be here is to say something so people want to hear." So my whole thing, again, over and over again, we're going to be dealing with these changes in technology and content, but it always comes down to, do you have something to say, and are you saying it in a different way? And if you're doing that, are you doing it consistently over time? And that's how you break through. And I just wanted a little motivation for everyone not to get lost in the technology really here and throw it back to our great friend Don Schultz, who said Don it well Schultz. And continues to be important and will continue to be important. So there you go. Giants.
Standing on the shoulders of giants we are.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love that. I absolutely adore that. So I have a very quick rant, if you will. I don't know if it's rant or actually commentary here. I'll link to 2 things in the show notes that sort of I read over the last week or so that just sort of have got me my gears grinding, as it were. And so the first is that, so this goes back to Elon Musk and his layoffs. There's an increasing meme going around Silicon Valley that they're all the CEOs at tech companies are watching what he's doing here, and sort of viewing it as rather heroic. In other words, basically reducing the Twitter staff down to 75% or cutting it by 75%, and then pointing to the fact that the platform is still up and running and going, see, we were way overstaffed. And all of these CEOs are apparently now looking at this and going, wow, that we should really look at that because, you know, we have too many pinball machines, we have too many people, we have too many people who don't do much, and so they'll keep the system up and running and it'll run by itself, and we should cut and, you know, cut out the fat, as it were. I just think that is one of the most ridiculous ideas, and let me tell you why in a moment. But the second link that I'll point to is a related but different article. This one comes in from Business Insider, and it's the Meta CTO, who has basically reportedly told employees that higher headcount has led to untenable slow movement, including meetings that take a month to schedule. And so the article there is really about how the CTO has complained that overhead makes everything slower. Of course it does. That's just the way that big businesses become big. but basically blaming it on too many people. Basically saying that there was too many people, too many headcount, and so in order to get a meeting with sometimes it takes 2 weeks or everything's a meeting, and we all know the meeting sort of culture that has pervaded corporate America, and especially now that we're all working from home and Zoom and all those kinds of things. And he's blaming that in large part to where they've seen a lot of drop in productivity and a drop in as idea and complaining that they're too big. So both of those things, I think, are issues, challenges, but not in the way that they're being positioned. And the thing that I would point to, and this is especially true in the Twitter idea, is that it becomes very easy for us to make knee-jerk reactions to say, oh, yeah, see, look at Twitter. The platform is still up and running. There's no bugs that are really causing any problems. So therefore, cutting the staff by 75% and reinvesting into profits is the right thing to do, and let it run, let it run, let it run. And I have 2 words for those people who do that, and I have 2 words only, and it is Southwest Airlines. Which is, if you know what happened with Southwest Airlines over the last couple of weeks when we had all of these big storms over the course of the last couple of weeks here in the U.S., they had a complete meltdown. They had the system completely melted down. They were the only airline to have as big a meltdown as they did. And if you listen to all of the folks who know what they're talking about, who sort of said, this is why, all of them had roughly the same conclusion, which was they didn't invest in building and keeping modern technology up and running. So yeah, Southwest was up and running. You didn't see a problem until there was a problem. And when the problem hit, it really, really became a complete meltdown. So that investment, call it people, call it investment in technology, call it investment in modernization, call it, in my mind, it's keeping up, basically keeping up and making sure that you're keeping up with what's going on in the world, is a huge risk in the long term for a short term, what will obviously seem like a short term in the immediate idea of keeping things going. And what it reminds me of so much is back when I was in a startup. We were a startup software as a service and an enterprise software as a service. And we had, a couple of hundred clients, big brands. And we had to sign all these things like service level agreements and all of these kinds of things that would go on. And we used to get constant pressure about the number of people that we were putting on to the product and maintaining and managing those the products so that it would keep up with the Joneses, keep up with these new web services, keep up with and making sure that there weren't going to be any weird things that happened that would cause catastrophic, because that would be a death sentence for us. That if things went down over a weekend, we'd be dead. Our clients would quit, et cetera, et cetera. We couldn't afford to lose 2, 3, 4 clients because that would have been the death of a startup company. And we were constantly pressured, like, can't you just keep the system up and running? And the answer to that question is yes. We could have fired everybody. The system would have run independently with no supervision. It was designed to do that, run with no supervision for days, weeks, and months. But when it did go, it was going to go it was not going to go in an elegant fashion. It would go in a catastrophic fashion. So I would just warn everybody who's looking with big doe eyes at what they're doing with cutting all of these resources out of these companies. And to the Meta situation, I know because I worked with Meta, the problem wasn't too many people. The problem was how they organize their system. They are such a flat organization that it's impossible to make decisions at Facebook. They are so flat. They've lost all sense of hierarchy. And so it's the organization that's the problem. And going all the way back to Steven Sinofsky, who very famously said a long time ago, you ship the org chart. You are what your organizational structure is. And that doesn't have to do with how many people you have. It has to do with how you're organized. And are you organized in a way that optimizes your ability to withstand and be resilient from disaster? Or are you organized in a way that helps you move things and get to a meaningless meeting? That is the thing to look at, not at how many people you have at any one time. That's my little commentary and rant.
So what do you think is the future of Twitter then because of this?
I think at some point, I honestly do, I believe this, at some point, one of two things is going to happen. One is they are going to have a catastrophic failure, an outage that's going to last time. There will be a challenge with that. Something's going to happen, a breach, an outage, or something that's going to happen to that platform that they just don't have the resources to efficiently fix, because there just has to be that will happen, I think, or they'll fix it, right? They'll fix what's, I think, truly broken right now, which is the fact that they're literally running that thing on fumes and baling wire and trying to make everything work. You know, my dad used to have this saying, right? If it can't be fixed with WD-40, you got to replace it. And so, yeah, I think right now they're running that place on WD-40.
It's interesting to see where they go and take this, and even if Elon can go and I mean, I don't think he can get away with it, but if you're just looking at it on paper, bankruptcy makes the most sense. Because
I think so too.
Then they can start with fresh books, a lean organization, and Elon can do all the things he wants to do. Again, it comes back to, I don't know why he's doing this. It is killing Tesla. It is killing Tesla right now, and I can't believe the Tesla board is letting this happen. It's unfortunate. So,
yeah. My only point there, by the way, is not that you shouldn't cut the fat or that you shouldn't run a lean organization. It's that we immediately jump to people are the problem. No. In many ways, it's our approach to the people that's the problem. So that's what I want to point out.
Yeah. People are good.
So there. People are good. I like people.
All right.
Okay.
All right. What do you got
going on? You're back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm back doing my thing. We're getting ready. We've got Creator Economy Expo. Super early bird ends next week. So people want to register, please go register. CEX.events. Want to see you there in May. Robert will be there. I will be there. And what do you got going on besides cowboy craziness this weekend?
Cowboy craziness is alive and well, at least for one more week here in the Rose household. The other thing is we're blessed to have a lot of client work to do this month. So busy working on client work and enjoying some of the sunshine that we finally have here in the Golden State.
Yeah, there you go. All that rain you've
getting
gotten.
outside a little bit. Absolutely. Well, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. Remember, until then, it is your story to tell. Tell it well. We will see you next week on This Old Marketing.